I'd like to call to order the regularly scheduled council meeting for Tuesday, May 21st at 6:30 here at Ratcliffe City Hall. If you will please rise as Pastor Palmer gives our invocation and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance afterwards.
Let us pray. Father, we're so grateful again to be in your service, grateful for this day that you've made, grateful for factoring each of our lives into this day. We pray that you would bless the city council, the leadership of this city as we carry out the decisions and business that need to be made to make the city a prosperous place. We ask that you bless those who are in harm's way. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, if we can have roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Barbara Baker,
Present.
Pam DeRoche,
Here.
Edward Palmer,
Present.
Tanya Seabrooks,
Here.
Kim Thompson,
Present.
Chris Yates.
Here.
Full staff.
We have a full quorum. Can we have approval for minutes from April 16, 2019, regular minutes? Meeting.
Second.
Motion second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Can we have consideration for minutes for May 13, 2019, special called meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Motion second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And finally, minutes from May 13, 2019, work session.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Thank you all for coming tonight. Got a full house. That either means you all wanted to see us or we have something on the agenda that you're interested in. So we appreciate you all coming. Before we get started tonight, before we move into the citizen comments portion, we have a special proclamation that we are wanting to award. So, as many of y'all know, John Hardin High School is located on the south end of our community. Of course, it's in Ratcliffe. And our high school boys down there had a perfect season of 35-0. And so tonight at 6:30 is their banquet. And we could not present them this proclamation, but because of technology and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, we're going to try to FaceTime them and give them the proclamation from here. So we're going to see if this works.
No, we got
That looks like Tim.
Let's see if we can do this.
There we go.
What kind of face is that?
Smile, Jeremy. Smile.
That streaming?
Poor connection.
Probably him.
Well, so much for technology.
That's what I said. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Tim, disconnect and why don't you step out and call him and see if he can get on a better Wi-Fi signal. And we'll move into the first comments, and then if we get it, if y'all don't mind, if we're in the middle of comments and we can get reconnected, we'll try it again. So at this time, Barbara, do you want to? Would you mind, since you're on the end there, would you mind grabbing that, if you don't care, the clipboard?
I thought you meant the table, sir.
If you can grab the table.
I guess I can move the table too. Smile, Jeremy.
Anything? Did you talk to him? Yeah, just give him a call, see if he can get a
Just the
Wi-Fi at the school.
speakerphone.
If not, yeah, we'll just do a speaker. So first on our list, now if you didn't sign up, and we'll go through the list, and you want to say something after the list is complete, you're more than welcome to come up. But Ms. Niemiller, I think you're first. Linda, there you are. I'm sorry, you're sitting right in front of me. So we,
Usually everybody just says Linda. Kind of weird.
sorry, yeah.
Linda, move that mic over. We got a bunch of.
Have you talked to him and said that they got poor connection? Yeah, tell him to call and let's see if we can get a better connection. If not, we'll just,
Well, this is entertaining,
this is.
at least.
All right, Miss Linda, I'll let you start it off.
Okay, Mayor, council members. I just have two things tonight. One is, I had mentioned South Wilson Road from Lincoln Trail to where it meets Vine Grove. I'm sorry, Vine Street.
Mhm.
It's in deplorable condition.
It's planning on being blacktop. They've actually planned on doing it this week, so.
Oh,
They were behind on
yay.
another job, but they've hit like 3 or 4, like Atcher just got done.
I seen
Centennial
Atcher, and
got
I'm
done.
like, Atcher, really?
Yeah, no, it's good. If you'll see, they milled it, they're in the process of coming back and getting it done, so.
Yeah, because it's really.
It is,
Really
yes.
bad. And then just the other thing is, the big tree branches and stuff, it's on the corner of Elm and Woodland. They've been there for like a year and a half, piled up. And that's the city's mess. It's not the property owner's mess. And I've mentioned it several times before. I don't know, maybe a couple of guys, one day could have that lot cleared off. It's a busy intersection. I see it when I look out my windows. I'm not the only one. The neighbors were just kind of tired of looking at it. I kind of got voted to come and mention it once again. Well, could you please send a couple guys over there and clean up that lot where they had fixed the road and took
Yeah, you're talking about
the,
where they burned all the.
burned, and what didn't burn, the branches, the tree trunks piled up there. Like I said, it's the city's mess, so, I know you guys are getting all property owners to keep your yards up.
Okay, we're ready.
You got it? All right. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I'm here, we're here.
Okay, cool, all right. Ms. Email, would you mind?
Yeah,
While it's
no.
working.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, how are you guys? Can you, well, Coach, thank you for taking the time. We apologize. You all happen to have this banquet tonight on the same time that we were having our council meeting. So with technology, we were trying to make this work, and so we would like to give you guys a proclamation from the city of Ratcliffe. Now, how many of you guys knew you were in the city of Ratcliffe at John Hardin? Raise your hand. There you do now. There you go. Get him.
It's good coaching.
Good coach. I'm actually going to have Mike Pike read this because he has a better voice for TV than I do. So,
No, that's,
A City of Ratcliffe proclamation. Whereas the John Hardin High School boys basketball team, under the guidance of Coach Jared McCurry, finished their season with an impressive and undefeated 35-0 heading into the Sweet 16. And whereas Coach Jared McCurry and the assistant coaches encouraged the development and the practice of good sportsmanship, the principles of fair play, and a growth and appreciation for the game in these young men. And whereas each and every team member contributed to the 5 tournament titles, to include the Class 2A state tournament title. And whereas for 7 decades, no Kentucky high school basketball team finished their season undefeated, and for 30 years, no team entered the state tournament undefeated until the John Hardin High School boys basketball team. Now therefore, I, James S. Duval Jr., Mayor of the City of Ratcliffe, Kentucky, by virtue of the authority vested in me, do hereby proclaim May 22nd, 2019, John Hardin High School Boys Basketball Day, and ask all citizens of Radcliffe to join me in congratulating these fine young men on a remarkable season, and fight on, you Bulldogs, fight, fight, fight. Signed this 21st day of May in the year of our Lord 2019 in the Commonwealth of Kentucky, City of Radcliffe, James S. Duval Jr., Mayor, City of Radcliffe.
thank you very much.
thank you guys. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. It worked.
Awesome. Thank you.
Hard work pays off.
It worked.
All right, Tim, you can just shut, if you don't care, shut that mirroring off. Or I'll take it off of here.
There you go. Just unplug her.
So pretty impressive, those young men.
That is, yeah.
Very much so.
Miss Linda, did you have anything else you wanted to add, or before? I didn't mean to cut you off. Okay. All right. Yeah. You can. Thank you. If that's, we'll move on then. We'll just go on to our
All right,
business.
that's
All right. Well, thank you. All right, next, Ms. Gudenkauf, do you want to come up? How are you?
Hello,
Move your mic over.
so we can hear.
So we can
There
hear
you
you
go.
better?
Now just
Yeah.
pull
A
just a
little
little bit closer. There you
That
go.
better?
That's good. That'll work. Just yell, just talk a little
Normally I'm
loud.
loud enough you can hear
You'll
me.
be all
That's a
right.
new one for me.
You're good.
You all have on your agenda tonight about the drainage project on North Logston. So that's what I came to talk to you about. I'm here to ask you not to approve it, not to sign the letter to approve it. I live on North Logston. I bought my property on North Logston because of the privacy and because of the trees. It's completely surrounded by trees, and on one entire side of my property is nothing but woods that I share with my neighbors over here. It's absolutely gorgeous. I get deers and raccoons and squirrels. The project you're proposing is going to completely tear out my woods. It's going to completely take the entire side of my property. That takes the very privacy and the reason I bought my home. Destroying the woods would be absolutely disastrous for the property, and it would completely decimate the value of all of our homes. You can't compare what the property is worth at this moment with what it would be like after you decimate those woods. You just simply can't do it. Furthermore, you all have already gotten to the point where you're looking at possibly signing a letter, possibly moving forward with this. But nobody from the city has talked to us about losing our property, about having it taken. And that's what it would be, ladies and gentlemen. It would be being taken from us. Because we have no, I don't want to sell my property. My husband and I have no intention of selling our property. We intend to live there for the rest of our lives. I've lived in Radcliffe, I'm going to say my whole life, but I was technically 5 when I moved from Vine Grove. That still counts. I have no intention, had no intention of ever leaving Radcliffe. Please don't take my home. And by taking the woods, you're taking my home. Just because my house is to stand on the exact spot does not mean you didn't take my home. The city never told us any of this. It's a complete shock, and the only reason I knew it is because by luck and because of several very good people, I was able to figure out, with a lot of help, some very, very, very good people, that you all are talking about my property. It was never even made clear by when it was proposed that it was going to be my property. None of us. It was never made clear to any of us. So we just got very lucky to even get to be here with you tonight. So I want to be very clear. I don't want to sell it. I'm not giving it away. Absolutely not going to give it away. I don't want to sell it. I don't want the city to come in and rip my property apart. It will decimate my values and destroy the value of it completely. And ladies and gentlemen, you simply cannot replace full-grown trees and a full-grown, I call it my forest. You cannot replace full-grown woods. You can't do it. There's no way that if you move forward with this, you can make me and my neighbors whole. You simply, no matter what you do, cannot replace what you are going to take. You can never make me whole. You will decimate me. So please, please, just take some time. Please take a step back. Please ask a lot of questions, because I don't think we're anywhere near knowing everything we need to know about this. And please, please, please find another way. It's not a huge stand of woods, y'all. It's not huge. It's just my little woods right by my house. It's just this little wooded area. Surely to goodness, with today's technology, we can find an engineer or a group of people somewhere that can figure out how to work around our little group of woods, and you don't have to decimate us to help somebody else. Thank you all very much for listening.
Thank you, Ms.
Thanks,
Gudenkauf.
ma'am.
Now, folks, I probably should have said this a second ago when you were talking. So this is not a debate. We won't comment. The council members won't comment back to you, because this is your all's opportunity to get up here and share your thoughts and concerns or issues that may be going on in the city. So just because you don't hear us talk back to you or say something back to you doesn't mean that we don't hear you. This is just not an engaging debate. So I just don't want anybody to be confused that we're just ignoring you or just sitting here staring at you. But just to be clear, and you have about 5 minutes to speak, and so when you come up, just state your name very clearly. And if you've signed up, we have all the information we need, but just state your name. And then if you hadn't come up when I call everybody else, you just state your name and I'll have you fill this out, okay? All right. Ms. Gudenkauf, thank you for coming up, appreciate it. I believe it may be Knapp, am I saying that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
You could actually say my whole name. Have everyone smile.
Everybody smile, I know, you come on up.
Oh, you've got pictures for us?
My name is Kat Nat. I'm from a whole line of politicians. so you could hear me.
She lives right there in the curve on Hill Street.
I
Mhm,
was
she was telling me.
Montgomery at one time. Some of you may know that name.
Are these all the same?
No, everyone's different. And you got it before I read it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. I can't see it anyway. This is uphill from the direction of Dixie Highway to 504 Hill Street. There's a little X up there that shows where my driveway would
Okay,
be.
right there.
If you could see my driveway. You couldn't see the back of my car if you're coming around that. And this is downhill from my mailbox at 504 Hill Street toward Dixie Highway. And you can see the slant of that hill. I have nowhere to step to get off road. And you can't see my mailbox from down here.
Mhm.
You cannot see me crossing the road once I pass the middle line. This is downhill from my driveway, just going downhill to see the curve. And this is going uphill from my driveway to the next curve.
Right.
So you can see, this is about the straightaway of Hill Street. There is no straightaway. It's not straight. There's no sidewalks. People walk on this street all night during the day and sometimes during the night. There's nowhere for them to go. Speed limit's 35 miles per hour, and people don't go 35 miles per hour going up and down that road. This is Woodland. Lots of rooms, mostly sidewalks, 25 miles per hour. I would think Hill Street would be 25 or 15 miles per hour. And I've gone down Woodland several times. I have never seen anybody walk on those sidewalks, much less having to walk in the road. But yet and Woodland and Semelo and Wagoneer and all these little roads, the sidewalks get 25 miles per hour. Hill Street gets 35. With no enforcement, I would be glad for someone to sit in my driveway and enforce this. What I'd like to see is 25 or 15 miles per hour and some warning that pedestrians are on the road. There was a wreck going uphill, that telephone pole you might see going uphill. Someone hit that pole hard enough to break the pole a couple of weeks ago. I can't imagine how fast she was going or what she was doing. That was going downhill, it's no danger to me at that point. But going downhill further, she wouldn't be able to see the people walking. So, if you hit hard enough to break a pole, you're
You're
not
going a little quick.
very slow. That's what I'm asking for. May I go home now?
Let me go home now.
Will.
My dogs want to eat.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Knapp.
You're welcome. You can say my whole name.
Catnap.
But someday I won't have that last name. And I may run for office with just the first name. Ah, that's what I
I believe his first name, it's either Walt.
think. Myself.
I wasn't gonna try, sir, but. Come on up, sir. He's at 1142 North Logston.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Now,
If you
I
don't,
have lived.
if you don't mind, Mr.
Go ahead,
would you
go
pull-
ahead.
Yeah, pull that mic. No, just pull it over, yes, so they can hear you.
I lived at, my family has lived at 1142 North Loxton since about, it was August, we started to move in, but 1 October 1980, okay? In 1982, I was here at a city council meeting when the Knox Hill Associates came in and briefed the city council on the Woods Hollow subdivision. And
What year was
at
that?
82.
Pardon?
What year did you say that was?
82.
Okay.
Okay. They were told it was, there were going to be some problems, but they went ahead and developed the property and then subsequently went bankrupt. And there have been problems with drainage ever since. Now, in the mid-90s, the city took over, and in exchange for I'm trying to think of the word, they got permission to dig on my property, and they dug a large
Easement?
basement. Yeah, an easement. And they gave me some money, which I used to put B-Dry in my basement. Now, there were 3 basins on the west side of 31, North Loxton, and there were 2 basins on the east side. One was on my property, and the other was city property. It's about 4 acres, and it's currently got a berm around it, and it has cyclone fencing up about 6 foot high. Now, that property has never been, anything been done with it since then. Now, I watched, they came in with earth-moving equipment and went down about 20 feet, dug it out, put in 2 dry wells. They put in 2 dry wells in the city property. They had discussed putting another dry well in my property, but they didn't. They also put in dry wells across the street from me. I'm trying to think of his name.
J.C.
Mr.
Hatfield.
Hatfield, Mr. Hatfield.
Mr. Hatfield, okay, and next to his property, there's a berm, and there's another dry well in there. Well, from that time on, there hasn't been any significant flooding as far as I'm aware of it. There was before, okay? But it depends on how much rain we get and how fast it rains. What I'm concerned about is if you do any modifications and knock down all the woods behind my house, it's going to make the problem worse, not better, in that all that forest absorbs a lot of moisture. Now, a big problem is the water table gets very high, and my sump pump sometimes runs 3 days, but it's no problem because the water is pumped out of my basement stays dry, and it continues on. The problem is the basin that's in Woods Hollow, I believe it's Woods Hollow, or is there another name for that?
It's on Timberwood.
Timberwood, okay. That one isn't large enough. Now, I talked to the city engineer tonight, and he says you're going to possibly condemn 2 properties and make it larger, and I think that would be significant to help it. But I think also if you would go in on the city property and clean that out, and you could probably dig it deeper, that would hold more water, rather than damaging my property and the properties adjacent to us, okay? So what I would say is, let's do this in steps and minimize the cost to the city, okay, rather than doing it all at once. Any questions?
Just a frame of reference, if you know where J.C. Hatfield lives. The
He
lift
lives up
station's
on the
right there.
hill across.
You're right
from
across
us.
the street.
Right.
Same as Mr.
Down
Mr.
in the
Smith.
valley.
Yeah. I think, are you the last house, or you the one?
We're on the
No, no.
last house on the left.
Left.
My son and daughter-in-law live on the last house on the right,
Okay.
and she's here tonight. He's working at Redstone Arsenal, so he couldn't be here.
I'm going there in a couple of weeks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, heading
I
down
have
that
2
way.
sons working
Oh,
down
do you?
there.
Yeah,
So.
going for a tour, so. Well, we thank you for coming and speaking,
All right.
and appreciate it.
Oh, also, I have some data that I took off the internet. Last year was the wettest year in Kentucky on record. Now, I realize that it depends on the intensity of the rain and whether it's 2 days or whatever. I'll leave this with you all.
Yes, sir, you can give it to our clerk here, Mr.
Sure.
Make copies for
Thank you
everyone.
very much for your time.
Thank
Thank
you.
you,
Thank
sir.
you, sir.
Appreciate it. All right, I believe, Mr. Smith, I believe you're up, sir. Mr. Smith lives at 1160, and he lives right there on the same street as the gentleman just spoke,
North Loxton.
North Loxon, yep.
And what was the name?
How are you folks tonight?
Good, thank you.
This is Mr. Smith.
Smith.
Yes,
Okay.
Charles Smith.
I'm here in reference to the flood control they're doing on North Loxton. Now, I have a problem in my house. You're familiar with it, and Councilman Yates is familiar with it. In the back of my house, it drains north of Loxton and goes through my yard. And the city came down and they put in, I think it was a 20-inch pipe, and dug a little catch basin.
It's about 2 years ago, I think. I
Yeah.
remember.
In the catch basin, and they ran it all so that water would run off of my property. But the problem was, they made a berm there over top of the tube, but they didn't make it high enough. And that tube will not handle the water coming off of Loxton. And it overflows, and it runs right into the crawl space of my house. And one time it got above the basement wall and came into the basement. Not a lot, but it did come in. Now, my thing was, if they had made that berm 8 to 12 inches higher, it would have handled that water and let it run on off to where it runs down on the other side. But the way it is right now, I can't do anything. And I've had people come out to check it, and it just to correct what should have been done before, it costs a little bit more than what I can afford. And I just wanted, if they're doing that work up there, to include, raise that berm just a little bit, and I won't have any problems. One other thing I had is the house across the street from me. It was a rental house. The people left there in the middle of the night. That thing looks like terrible over there.
Yeah,
The weeds
so-
look like they're at least 2 feet high. Branches all over where they had done trimming up there. Garbage cans out in the middle of the yard, and then the thing is, didn't the city have some kind of code to cover that?
I'm sure our chief hears you talking right now, sir. His hand just went up.
Okay, that's all
I didn't realize they moved out. I thought they just moved in, to be honest with you.
The what?
I thought they just moved in there.
Yeah, they were only there a couple of days.
I didn't think they were there very long.
And he came in, he had a truck, and he backed the truck up in his driveway, and he had to run into my yard to get it out of there, and left tracks all in my yard. And I'd like to find him, let me put it that way. And,
All right, Mr.
I'm an old man, but I still got one left.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Thank you, sir.
All right, let me see here. All right, Mr. Smith. Miss Anna Marie. The better half. Gotcha. And of course, she's at 1142 North Loxton. How are you?
I must confess that I'm upset.
Pull that microphone over to you.
Chris, you want to help her?
She's got it.
We had a great day yesterday. We had company until 10:30 last night, and that's when I found out that
They may not be able to hear you.
Mrs. Gudenkoff had called my husband and told her about this meeting tonight. I couldn't sleep a wink because they said that you were going to vote on it tonight, and I thought, they're going to vote on our property? We've lived there, my husband said, over just almost 40 years, and it's been one of the best blessings of our lives together. We're going to be married 50 years in a few months.
Congratulations.
And- Thank you.
Thank you.
But we raised our 6 children there. We had our 5 miscarriages there. We had grandchildren there. We had 27 grandchildren coming to visit that land, and they all love the woods. I love the woods. My daughters, who are going to inherit the house, are here. They love the woods. They spend hours on it. We just had a man chopping down and we had called him to chop down the dead trees and the trees that were slantwise into other trees. It was a mess. So we were so happy, and to find out that they were going to this picture is confusing. It's hard to figure out even where our houses are and everything, but this is the shape of the, here it is, here's the Gudenkoffs, and here's us, and here is my sons. And this is how much of our land they're gonna take without notifying us. We didn't know about this meeting. Nobody told us anything. And I'm just in shock that that could happen, because it's not even good manners. I mean, just to come in and say that we're going to control this much land of yours, thank you very much, to solve somebody else's problem. They already took, this whole, is right here, is a whole acre almost, that they made the basin out of. So you can't use it for anything else, except for the kids sloshing in when it does overrun, or sleigh riding. Okay. But it's not right to take that much
Right.
of people's property. So, I just wanted to say that I thanked Mrs. Gudenkauf for contacting us and getting us here, even after no sleep all night, because I look out my kitchen, we don't have very good windows, but I look out my big kitchen window, and I love those woods. My kids have all loved it. My little great-grandson that we have custody of loves it. Poison ivy is not good, but it's good. And it's our property. I can't imagine. We paid a hefty price to live there because I was going to run my Montessori school there. And now it's been, my oldest son's been living there for 11 years. And it's where our whole family is, and where I'm going to die. She wanted to die there too. I'm right there with her. But it is just that I have been so thankful for it. You know the poem, of course, by Robert Frost, that whose woods these are, I think I know. Well, I have spent so many mornings looking out the window with my coffee and saying, whose woods these are. I really know. His house is up in heaven, though, but he sees us living here. And thank you, God, for these beautiful woods. They're so special. So I would like it to be that not only would you not do anything on our property, but if you had asked, I would have consented to a little lengthening, digging in of the ditch back there at the far back of our property to help other people, but not give a huge portion of our land away for any amount of money. So thank you for that, and also thank you for maybe making sure that it never happens again that you're going to have a meeting and vote on something without the people having due notice. You know, it's just not on the door. I mean, if you can't get a hold of us because we're old and we don't answer the phone right away or something, I understand, but come to the door and discuss it and say, this is what we're planning to do. And we would say, oh, thanks for the warning. But I'm thankful to be here, and I hope that you all see that that's how we feel. So
Thank you.
thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Well,
Watch
that's the
the
last.
step.
Huh?
I said, watch the
Yeah,
step.
that's the last one I have on the list. Is there anyone else that's, yep, well, I got a couple, so I'll let you, Tom, or let him go first, and
We're together, so he's gonna.
you want to come up? Okay, yeah, you can come on up. Yeah. If you will state your name, I gotta have this for the minutes, so that's why I need you to fill this part out. You don't care. If not, Jeff will have to guess who you are and where you came from, so. Yeah, right here. Yep, there you go. If you need to unclip that to sign it, just flip the papers over, however you need to.
My name's Craig Taylor. I live at 939 Rogersville Road, and I'm the pastor at Stovall United Methodist Church, who is at 949 Stovall, or Rogersville Road. Sorry. Usually the roads are the church names,
church,
and so
yeah.
it's a little
What was his first name?
Craig.
Craig.
I know I say it low and fast, and so I've learned that that's my fault, not anyone else's fault. When I
Rob was
respond
trying
to
to write.
Craig, Greg, hey you, the gamut, but usually just pastor.
What does Hugh call you? That's all that matters.
Pretty much a hey you kind of guy.
Yeah.
So, but hey you picked me up on the side of the road today, so
Yeah.
I'm fine with being hey you today. But I'm here to ask on behalf of the City Council for improvements on the road that runs through Stovall United Methodist Church parking lot. It used to be a county road, and then for a while it disappeared. It dropped and was never picked up, and I believe it was last year that the council in the city picked it back up as a city road, and so we're very thankful for that. And it's about, I think, 30 to 40% of our parking lot is actually a city road that then continues on to go behind North Elizabethtown Memorial Gardens, I believe, and with a couple other houses at the end, the last of which being Mr. Hugh Cross. But with that being a road, it's not very evident that it's a road. There's a sign right before you get to the Vine Grove city limit sign, which is just on the other side. But usually when people approach a parking lot, they're not expecting it to be a road, and it does look like a parking lot. As a church, we average 100 unique children every week through the doors of the church, which we're very thankful for. We're busting at the seams. Thank you, God. We also have a playground that we put on the front side of the property and a large green area so that the community can use that. And we have children there all hours of daylight. And we do have rules for that we try and enforce. But again, it is a public use space area that we've designed that way. That does not come into impedance area with the roadways, but regardless of that, there is an active road through there. And we would like to see possibly added to the road structure a crosswalk. We have a homeschool that right now has 45 children 2 days a week that operates as a co-op out of our building that will go up to 60 this next year, which we're very thankful again. Honestly, it's wonderful to have that many children around, but it worries us about the safety of the area. There's a small speed bump that is in disarray and disrepair. And so to have a crosswalk added in, a children at play sign or a speed limit sign, since there is no speed limit, again, it doesn't very much look like a road. And at the beginning of the road, it's sectioned off between areas of parking. So there's one way that's in and one way that's out. So you just come upon a very big parking lot and not really sure how to operate in it. I couldn't tell you how rich I'd be in the number of free pizzas I've almost gotten that were delivered to the wrong address. No one really knows that the road goes on. I almost sold a guy a mattress one time because he was adamant that I was selling him a mattress. A very thick Polish accent. It took 30 minutes to figure out he meant the next house down, which is completely out of sight because you can't see that it's really a road in that respect. So any improvements that the city could do on that part to help improve the safety of the area, since we do have so many children that come through there, would be extremely beneficial, I think, on the city's part and for the children that are able to access that area.
Yep. Now, this is probably the most unique road that we have in the city. So it's like Pastor was saying, if you look at the road, and Hugh and I have had numerous conversations over the past few years about this, it looks like a parking lot. It's designed like a parking lot. Murray has
It is a parking lot.
Yeah, Murray has designed it extensively, but when it was deeded, the egress and ingress on the property, it goes directly through the parking lot, and there is a granted easement, as Hugh and I talked about, through that parking lot.
I think it's about 30-40%.
It is, yeah, and it's about 30 feet wide, maybe, if I remember
I think it comes
correctly.
within about 5 feet of the church building at some points.
Yeah.
It doesn't actually go through the corners,
But
luckily.
it's just, when this was designed and deeded over, it's just the way the road was, and there was some confusion between us, Vine Grove, and the county on who actually owned this road and how it was laid
The
out.
county line's directly beside our property as well.
And so, during the first term, myself and Mayor Prophet had numerous discussions on who actually maintained that road. And so, over the years, we've clarified it that the majority of that road's in Ratcliffe and then kind of dead ends in Vine Grove. So, and y'all that ever want to go out and look at it, to
Yeah,
understand,
I
you
don't
just
guess
leave it
I've
there
ever
for anyone.
been on it.
Thank you. I'll be more than happy to take y'all out there and kind of show you.
I'll give you a personal tour. I live right there.
Yeah. So, but yeah, appreciate it.
And as well for consideration, since it is I don't know of any other property like this
It's
in many
very
cities
unique.
where it is really a dual relationship there. We actively seek to maintain the parking lot, but when we sealed it this past year, I mean, we can't seal 40% and not seal the other 30%. So we sealed the whole structure because we don't want it to deteriorate. So again, in future, just considerations figuring out that relationship as it stands would be wonderful to clarify as we figure that out together.
Sure.
But councilmen and women, thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
very much.
Anybody else? I know, Tom, do you want to, Summers, you want to come up? Yeah, Jeffrey, yeah.
Take about 45 seconds.
That's all right, Tom.
Sorry, I didn't get on this.
Yeah, that's fine. If you can just write, you don't have to, you can just, as long as you just sign your name to it.
Okay.
Address. Flip it up, Tom, flip it over. Go about 3-1, one more. Right there. Yep.
Thank you for your time. I began to notice this last month as I came to the meeting, and even more so this evening, especially when I saw Brother Palmer coming in the door with this great big old smile on his face. And that called my attention to something, and I paid particular attention looking around and just perusing the panel. I feel that I must say that there is an atmosphere change in this room. And I'm feeling a spirit of fellowship and mutual camaraderie in this room. And if I can possibly say this without sounding condescending, it's here because of each and every one of you. And I am proud of you. And I'm glad to call this my city council. Thank you, and God bless you for what you're doing, for what you've done, and for what you're going to do. God bless each and every one of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you very much.
Tom, does that mean you're not gonna run against me in 4 years? You're not gonna run against me in 4 years?
No.
Oh, Gary, I said Tom, I meant Gary, shoot, I said Tom, sorry. Thank you, Gary, appreciate it. Anybody else? I'll give you one last shot. Anybody?
I filled up
All
all my
right, so
papers.
you all are more than welcome to stay around and listen. I know a couple of y'all are probably interested in number 7, so
Yeah, buddy.
we'll try to get to it as fast as we can. All right, with that being said, Hugh, you don't want to stay here for number 7? You don't want to stay here for number 7?
No, he's out.
No, all right. Thank y'all for coming. Thank y'all. All right, we'll start with old business. Mr. Pike, can we have the second reading of an ordinance classifying compensation pay employee strength table?
Yes, sir. This is the ordinance amending the City of Radcliffe, Kentucky Classification and Compensation Pay Plan, Section Employee Strength Table. Whereas the City Council of Radcliffe, Kentucky adopted an ordinance establishing the City of Radcliffe, Kentucky Classification and Compensation Pay Plan on the first day of July 2001, and whereas the City Council desires to amend said ordinance under the section entitled Employee Strength Table as follows. Be it ordained by the City Council of Radcliffe, Kentucky as follows. The Employee Strength Table is amended by adding and amending that table attached here to the remainder of the City of Kentucky Radcliffe, Kentucky Classification Compensation Pay Plan shall remain the same. On the table, on the second page, under Parks and Recreation Department, we have a new line for Parks Groundkeeper, pay grade 3, authorized strength 1, funded strength 1. And I believe that is the only change to that table, and that is the second reading. And ready for motion to adopt and roll call vote.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Motion second. Any discussion? Now, this was where we took the 2 part-time workers and made it into one, so our Parks and Recs Department will have a full-time person there working through the weekends, and that's primarily to add that personnel there, so our parks aren't running themselves. So, any other discussion? Can we have roll call vote, please?
Barbara Baker,
Yes.
Chris Yates,
Yes.
Pam DeRoche,
Yes.
Edward Palmer,
Yes.
Tanya Seabrooks.
Yes.
Kim Thompson.
Yes.
Passes.
Motion carries. Next in old business is the second reading of an ordinance amending the City of Radcliffe's annual fiscal year budget, for fiscal year July 1st, 2018 through June 30th, 2019. Mr. Pike.
Yes, sir. This is the ordinance amending the City of Radcliffe, Kentucky annual budget for the fiscal year July 1, 2018 through June 30, 2019 by estimating revenues and resources and appropriating funds for the operation of the city government. Whereas an annual budget proposal and message has been prepared and delivered to the City Council, and whereas the City Council has reviewed such budget proposal and made necessary modifications, now therefore be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Radcliffe, Kentucky. Section 1, that the annual budget for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2018 and ending June 30, 2019 is hereby amended as follows. On the appropriation side, Public Works Department is amended under General Fund to read $1,811,300. Capitalized fund appropriations on the general fund column amended to read $921,900. The remainder of the ordinance stays the same. That's the second reading. Ready for motion to adopt and roll call vote.
Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the amended budget for fiscal year July 1, 2018 through June 30th, 2019.
Second.
Thompson?
Yes. Motion second, any discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Chris Yates?
Yes.
Kim Thompson?
Yes.
Barbara Baker?
Yes.
Pam DeRoche?
Yes.
Edward Palmer?
Yes.
Tanya Seabrooks?
Yes.
Motion carries. All right, we'll move into new business. We have a resolution 2019-003. This is the acceptance of the 434 connector between 31W and South Wilson Road. Mr. Pike, you have that resolution?
I do, but we don't need to read it unless the council desires me to. You can have a motion to adopt and voice vote if you like, or roll call.
Oh, I would just read it for the funning. I would just read it for fun. So everybody knows what it is.
Oh, okay. Seriously?
Yeah.
Yes,
seriously.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just.
Resolution 2019-003, acceptance of Kentucky 434 connector between US 31W and South Wilson Road. City Council of Radcliffe. Be it resolved by the City Council of Radcliffe that the city does, upon the completion of reconstructing the section of Kentucky 434 between South Wilson Road and US 31W, which includes removing the concrete and replacing with full-depth asphalt, agrees to accept the maintenance of the following roadway section and its adjacent right-of-way into the city road system and have all rights and responsibility for the operation and maintenance of this facility. Number 1, Kentucky 434, from the edge of pavement of South Wilson Road extending easterly to the edge of pavement of US 31W, an approximate distance of 115 feet. Now therefore be resolved by the City Council of Radcliffe that the Mayor of Radcliffe is hereby authorized and directed to sign said resolution as set forth on behalf of the City Council of Radcliffe, and the City Clerk of Radcliffe is hereby authorized and directed to certify thereto. That is the first, or the reading, Mayor.
Do you
Ready
need a
for
motion to adopt? Motion to adopt.
Motion second.
Second.
And of course, this was that little road that the state wanted to turn the maintenance over to us on, so.
Right.
All right. Any discussion? And hearing none, we have roll call vote, please.
Barbara Baker?
Yes.
Chris Yates?
Yes.
Pam DeRoche?
Yes.
Edward Palmer?
Yes.
Tanya Seabrooks?
Yes.
Kim Thompson?
Yes.
All right, motion carries. Next on the agenda, Bob Moore's here with the Radcliffe Fort Knox Tourism. Bob, do you have anything you want to add to that, or?
Not really.
Are you going to add Gwen?
And Gwen's here.
Gwen's here. Gwen is a member of the commission.
She's on the.
For those of you who don't know, Charlotte Fraley went to Florida for her grandson's graduation, so he decided that was more important than this. I thought I could handle it in his absence, so. We're at a point where we're just waiting to get this approved from you guys so we can move on.
Motion to approve the Tourism Commission's budget as presented.
Second.
Give Tom.
Don, you want that one?
Oh, that's fine.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? Any discussion? You either did that good, Bob, or?
Thank you.
You did a good job presenting.
Good job.
So, hearing none, we have roll call vote, please.
Edward Palmer?
Yes.
Barbara Baker?
Yes.
Pam DeRoche?
Yes.
Tanya Seabrooks?
Yes.
Kim Thompson?
Yes.
Chris Yates?
Yes.
That was the easiest piece of business you guys are going to have all night.
Thank you, Bob.
This is probably true, Bob.
Gwen, thank you for stopping in.
We did it 20 years.
All right, next is the,
Yes, I like that word, that verbiage.
Yeah.
I was gonna
Next.
explain that too, yeah.
Good, good.
is the joint franchise agreement.
That was very
This is
good.
Brandenburg Telephone Company. Now, this is a non-exclusive agreement. And this means, just because we're doing a franchise agreement doesn't mean that anybody else can't come in. It's just what we have to do for the right-of-way portions. And then Mr. Pike can explain anything else.
Do you need a motion
But we need a
first?
yeah, we'll say a motion.
Have a motion to approve the joint franchise agreement between the City of Radcliffe and Brandenburg Telephone Company. Do you need any other specifics?
Second.
No.
Motion second. Mr. Pike?
Yeah, the only change we made, we made the term 20 years as the council requested, or the majority of the council requested. The effective date is back from the expiration of the prior one, which is fine. And then we talked about the franchise fee of 3%, which is the same as it is now. Instead of adjusting it every 5 years, I put basically general language in there so that the city can unilaterally change the franchise fee, either increasing or decreasing. All we have to do really is just give them 60 days notice. We talked about 5 years and all that, but I thought, why would we tie our hands with that?
Right, this is a much better way.
Especially,
Much
you
better.
know, with the fiscal challenges that, you know, lie ahead in the future based on pension funding and that sort of thing. So I think it's good language. If someone wants to, you know, modify that, let me know. But I think that way it gives you guys, you know, more tools and teeth, more tools in the toolbox, so to speak. Are there any questions on the?
No, I like the change.
Okay, great, thank you. And again, it's not exclusive, so if another company wants to come in and provide phone service, they can go through the same steps.
We have a motion second. Do we have any more discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Clerk, would you call roll call?
Barbara Baker,
Yes.
Chris Yates,
Yes.
Pam DeRoche,
Yes.
Edward Palmer,
Yes.
Tanya Seabrooks.
No.
Kim Thompson.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. Next is can we have an introduction for the first reading of the public right-of-ways for the franchise, non-exclusive franchise agreement, public right-of-ways for the City of Radcliffe for the telephone service?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. This is the ordinance awarding a non-exclusive franchise to use the public rights-of-way of the City of Radcliffe for telephone service. Whereas the City of Radcliffe has advertised for non-exclusive bids for the use of the city's public rights-of-way for the purpose of providing telephone service, and whereas Brandenburg Telephone Company has submitted a proposal in response to this bid. Be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Radcliffe, Kentucky, Section 1, a non-exclusive franchise to use the public rights-of-way of the City of Radcliffe, Kentucky is hereby awarded to Brandenburg Telephone Company as the highest and best bidder is determined by and in the sole discretion and judgment of the city. Section 2, the mayor of the City of Radcliffe is hereby authorized and directed to execute on behalf of the city the franchise agreement approved by the City Council, copy of which is attached here too. Section 3, the ordinance shall become effective upon its publication. As we talked before, this is the ordinance that goes with the agreement we just signed, or you guys just approved, rather. It's non-exclusive, and it's not really done as a traditional, you know, we bid and that's the highest and best bidder and that sort of thing, but the Constitution requires that we open those up for franchises, so that's why we're doing the ordinance. Are there any questions on the ordinance? We won't vote on it until next time, but thank you.
All right, next is number 5. This is the approval for HCEC TV. This is for July 1st, 2019 through June 20th, or excuse me, June 30th, 2020. And this is our agreement for the young man that's standing over there televising us. So do we have any, can we have a motion?
Motion. Or make a motion to approve the HCE TV agreement from July 1st, 2019 through June 30th, 2020.
Second.
Motion, second. Do we have any discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Clerk?
Barbara Baker,
Yes.
Tanya Seabrooks.
Yes.
Pam DeRoche,
Yes.
Edward Palmer,
Yes.
Kim Thompson,
Yes.
Chris Yates.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. Next, we had our chief here at the last work session. Fortunately, he couldn't be here tonight because he had to be out, but Willie is here, but I don't think, Willie, you're not here to answer any questions, are you? Answered way too quick, Willie. Is there any, we need a motion to approve the policies and procedures for our police department?
I'll make a motion to approve the Radcliffe Police Department policies and procedures.
Second.
Oh, you gotta do each one? We doing each one separate?
I don't think we do.
We usually do.
You can do them separately, or you can do them as a group. It's the preference of the council.
List them all in your motion.
I don't have them in front of me.
Yeah, we don't have them broken down.
Do you want me to read the rest of his?
If you want them, it's up to you.
The policies is number G0, or excuse me, I guess it's GO 1.5, off-duty action, GO 4.4, supervisory accountability, GO 4.5, duty to obey lawful orders, number GO 10.5, personal appearance of sworn and uniformed personnel.
That'll be added to the motion that Councilman Yates. I'll show that in minutes. That's fine. So motion to second. Do we have any discussion? All right, hearing none. We'll have roll call vote, please.
Chris Yates.
Yes.
Kim Thompson.
Yes.
Barbara Baker.
Yes.
Pam DeRoche.
Yes.
Edward Palmer.
Yes.
Tanya Seabrooks.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. Well, next is number 7. This is the one most of you all came here today for. And so when this plan was presented, of course, I wasn't the mayor. That was in previous administration. And so speaking with our city engineer, and when this letter of commitment came up, I didn't feel comfortable signing that after talking with our city attorney without having our council's approval. So to your comment, you guys, I think this plan was done about a year ago. I don't know if anybody came to that public hearing. Ms. Gudenkauf did. And so I'm kind of coming in on the tail end of it. It's not an excuse, but that's kind of what happened. And so not signing that agreement was probably a good way to at least get the information back out. And talking with our council members, ultimately wanted to make sure this was the direction that they wanted to ultimately go in, because ultimately it's up to them as a voting body to make that decision on commitment of those dollars. And so that's kind of why you guys are here tonight, to hear that. They've heard your discussion. Basically it's up to them.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we table item number 7. Listen to the voice of both the folks that came to the first forum and the folks that came tonight, and do some extensive research and make sure that there's a need, one, and secondly, that if there is a need, and this body is convinced that there's a need to do any kind of project on the north end, that we do minimize the impact on all parties and all property concerned. So my motion is that we table this until we.
Second.
Who'd like that?
I don't know.
Doesn't matter.
I was trying to say something.
I got a
What, all
got a
three of us
motion
did it?
and a
Did she do it
second.
too?
I couldn't get it out. Y'all was in concert. Yeah.
Now we have a motion and a second. Did you have something you wanted to say tonight?
No, I was trying to say second.
Oh, gotcha. Now, I want to also just mention, just to make sure, I did get received an email from our engineer. May 30th is our deadline, and I don't think it'd be fair if I didn't mention that deadline is kind of the crucial point, that this may kill the project, just so y'all know. I just want to make sure that that's out, because, but ultimately, if you table it, that's up to you guys. So, did you want to have it, Toby? If they want to talk to you, it's up to them.
I have a question. So if the commitment letter is approved, does that bind the city to a specific plan? So in other words, hypothetically speaking.
If you want to come up, Toby.
I brought some information to clear up some stuff. Those would be questions. The commitment letter, and I talked to the mayor about this beforehand. On the project we're doing on the south,
It's on.
yeah, the project we're doing on the south end, the commitment letter was signed in '09, when probably the only two people on the council were
Me.
Ms. Baker and Mayor Duval. Might have been signed, I don't know, when did you come on? Yeah, it probably was signed in '08, the commitment letter, '08, '09. The property acquisition for that, obviously the plan, that project was approved based on a certain plan, as Mr. Pike mentioned. Obviously, those plans changed between '09, and when we purchased the first property in 2016. That's the duration. The grant money was secured in '09. The big fat check was up here and everybody got their pick. That was 2015. The first property was acquired in 2016. Mr. Pike just finished the last purchase up March of 2019 after extensive work. So, just put in perspective, I may just display for you. This is the project we just got completed for you. Just to have a little discussion on.
Where's this one at, too?
This is the Happy Valley project.
So what we're talking about now is not North Logston at all?
I'm gonna come around and put it in perspective of comparing the two projects.
Okay.
Both of them are FEMA, both of them are disaster grant, both of them are the same type of grant. So this project, everything you see highlighted there are properties that were purchased with this grant to complete this grant. Total of 28 total acquisitions at a cost of right at $400,000 over a 3-year period. 55 acres of total acquisition. 17 easements that FEMA helped fund over that same three years. Obviously, all those were negotiated and all the problems were resolved during design after the commitment letter. Probably not a single person on this council got a phone call. All the issues were addressed, accommodations were made, designs was changed, things were accomplished. So that's a $5 million project, lot of extensive. The project we're talking about now, the same commitment has been made. 2.4 million has been given to the city with a drop dead date of May 31st.
May 30th or 31st?
I think it's 30th, it's on the email.
Is it? The end of May is what, yeah. May 30th,
It's May 30th.
or maybe a weekend, but May 30th, 31st. With a back award date or back award, any expenses incurred since April 12th of 2018 will be reimbursed to the city, which means we'll also be reimbursed majority or all of our costs for the drainage study, the $57,000, plus $5,000 of the grant cost of the engineering. So, well, I receive another $62,000 of reimbursement through expenses we've already incurred on this drainage study. Now, I didn't catch the fellow's name. I tried to ask.
Walt.
Yeah, Walt. And obviously he has, with the depth of bedrock and stuff like that, there could be changes made to the basin that we got to make it deeper and hold more water. I don't know. Those changes can be made after the fact. But the study that was presented in May 29th at the public meeting, this one here.
When was that? When did you all do that?
This was, the council approved the money for that study on February 12th of 18. On May 7th, it was presented to the council. Directly thereafter, a copy of it was made and given to all the council members. And on May 29th, there was a public meeting, which I know we had that, and we had some good input from that. Basically verified all the flood elevations and everything else that was there. But as far as the grant, people know and FEMA knows, this is the project. The wheels on this cannot stop till the big fat check is given, the same as the alternate basin. If you're aware of the FEMA project, there is an alternate basin. The design changed and that the basins were relocated from one spot to the other. That cannot take place during the phase that we're in. If it takes place now, the 2.4 million is gone. This process starts over. And the unfortunate part about it starting over is that the reimbursement date is based off the declaration date. The grant, I provided the mayor the email from the actual grant administrator.
It's on my desk, I know I didn't.
That obviously this declaration, which is DR 4358, has a declaration date of April 12, 2018, which means all those costs incurred since that date we get reimbursed for. Any disaster, say, that occurred this year, that, you know, that date wouldn't coincide. So we lose that additional $60,000. But all the decisions that we're talking about right now, as far as whether we can design around that particular area or not, the acquisition of properties is totally controlled by the council. Always has been, was on this one. We had couple in executive sessions when we went through the property acquisition on this project.
This, Toby, let me interject here. On the Happy Valley project, as I recall, we only had to file 1 or 2 condemnation actions, and that was not because the property owner was unwilling, but because the one individual had a mortgage on the property. The mortgage company would not release based on the money we were wanting to pay, so we had to condemn the property, and then it worked out.
Yeah, it worked out.
But the property owner wanted to sign. As a matter of fact, came to a closing, but we couldn't get the mortgage company to agree.
Actually, the council, I think, approved you represented her and us at the same time. That's what the city decided to do on that one. And we worked around every other issue on it. This is a big project, the Happy Valley is, and North Lawson is a big project.
Well, and technically, I didn't represent her, but I answered her questions and advised her if she needed an attorney to do so. But I answered all her questions and explained to her what was going on, and it was a friendly situation.
The final thing, if I would, this is all the information I'll have, and you all make your decision. I think everybody is under the assumption that the area hasn't flooded or won't flood, and Walt, he was there in the 80s, and actually he said 84 was worse than 97. Obviously, he said there was improvements made after 84. Whatever improvements made, I'm gonna keep it simple because I'm a simple person. Whatever improvements were made on getting the water into the cavern system with an improved inlet or such, doesn't make a difference when the groundwater rises. It becomes a purely volume thing, and the flooding events that have occurred over there is a pure volume situation. That's purely it. It doesn't get any simpler than that, and it's based off all volume. But when you're talking about damages, now when we're talking about Happy Valley, everybody said that it was bad, it flooded, a lot of homes. Per FEMA calculations, the home damages for 1997 was $1,142,175.
$1,142,000.
$175. So that's for the Happy Valley area.
Happy Valley.
Now let's go to the North Logston
And
area
that's
that we're talking.
property damage
Yes, that's how home damages.
from rain?
Yes, for 97. That's just 97 alone. Now, bear in mind, the Happy Valley has South Wilson, and FEMA really stresses there's a lot of damages when it comes to roadways and stuff.
Oh, that included roads, not just houses?
Yeah. For FEMA purposes, most of the damages for Happy Valley, the reason the project was awarded was because the road was closed repetitively, and it was a high-traffic road for the city. Pure and simple. It would have never been awarded based on property damages. Now, when we go to North Logston, the 97 flood per the FEMA calculations, and it shows 91 people being flooded, and I think it easily 91 homes got flooded in 97. Damages to homes, $6,080,549. That's 6 times more than we got down at Happy Valley. So the number of homes, obviously the roads don't count in because the roads are subdivision roads and the traffic load is so minor that we can't even count them. And damages were so high on the homes, we didn't have to count the damages to the roadway in order to qualify for the benefit cost analysis. I'm really scared that, we're getting the cart before the horse. Obviously, we can design around, the location of the basins and stuff, but if we back out and don't commit to a $2.4 million grant, it may not come. We're very fortunate. When we were at the public meeting, we said we was going to apply for the grant. I didn't think there was no way we'd get it this fast. Maybe I'm good at my job. Maybe the grant administrator, I don't know. But we have it. It's secure. And we need to commit to it and make the commitment. We'll work through these issues during the design, because I know it's going to flood again. I mean, I don't know what your all's feelings is, but on the engineering side, it's going to flood again.
Let me ask a question, just so I understand, because it seems like there are going to be legal issues here. We have 9 days to submit this approval on the commitment letter. If we don't do that, then this $2.4 million grant is in serious jeopardy, and we may very well lose it. Is that correct?
DR 4358 is going to close.
The citizens have come here tonight and with great passion and emotion, and totally understandably so, believe that the council tonight is voting to do any one or all of the following: take their property, destroy woods and forests that are either adjacent to or on their property, diminish seriously their aesthetics and enjoyment of their property and the fair market value of their property monetarily. And they're offended because nobody, ostensibly the accusation is nobody gave them any notice that we're doing this, with either bad manners or with nefarious intent, is what I heard tonight. But and Mr. Palmer, in response, I think, prudently made a motion to table. But what I'm hearing is that if we don't approve this commitment letter, we're going to lose millions of dollars that the city isn't going to get in any other form or fashion from any source to do the project in the future. And this project has to be done what it looks like. What trees, if any trees, are removed, what forest, if any forest, is removed or changed or altered, that's all still up in the air. That the council could, in theory, either withdraw the motion to table or, at the end of the day, somehow approve the FEMA letter, which would keep our first project grant intact as well, but then also keep this project going forward, which may take several years to complete. Is that what you're asking them to do? Because I just want to understand.
I'm laying out the facts, so I mean, but you laid that, you clarified it and put it in more.
Well, I'm just trying to sit here. I'm not an engineer, but I'm reading the tea leaves and I'm hearing the concerns. So the risk of not approving the letter is that we lose a multi-million-dollar grant.
I don't think it's guaranteed.
Okay,
I mean, it's a risk.
so we're going to lose the
$2.4 million
grant.
is there.
We're going to lose the grant. The project, damage-wise, according to FEMA, is 6 times worse than the one we've already done. Previous history is nobody had their property condemned against their will, and that, as you said, accommodations were made, lines were moved, drainage areas were redesigned to accommodate citizens' wishes to the extent possible.
Yeah.
And so there's no reason to assume, I would think, that that's not going to happen going forward.
Let's do the worst case scenario. Let's say we get in final design, engineering wise, the volume cannot be made up anywhere else besides, I think most of the basin that we're talking about is what the engineer called Raven Court? Ryan Court. And say that this is where it has to go. Still then, it's the council's decision on whether we pursue that. If we decide we can't pursue it, there's no remedy. I mean, it just doesn't get done. There's no penalty from FEMA because that doesn't get done. I mean, that's just how it would transpire. That's the worst case scenario.
But that's not how it's going to be presented at the time. When that happens, because we've had that before. It's like, you've got to do this, you've gone all this far, and this is the last thing, and it's what's holding it up, and you've already approved it up till now.
I think
that's how it'll be presented to us at that time.
I mean, the meeting that we had with, and, like I said, again, cart before the horse, we don't know the facts. What Walt's saying. If we get out there and survey it, and he said he done a drill on it, and the bedrock's 20 foot deep, there's a very good chance that those basins can be made on property that we own. On the engineering side, I'm gonna present to you what it takes to get the volume. But we can't take property, nobody can take property without council approval. I mean, that's just,
Toby, did we do any adjustments after the 97 flood? Did we do anything over there to try to mitigate the flood?
we have done nothing since my tenure with the city.
So the city did nothing after 97
Not, I
flood?
mean, I don't know of anything that we've done since my tenure with the city. After '08, Jake, the guy that worked for me, went out and cleaned some trees, and they put a concrete ditch going down the slope of Timberwood. That's what Sheila and them had them do then. They cleaned up Timberwood some. Again, that's improving the outlet to the karst area. The entire area is karst, the water's going underground, it's just a naturally occurring thing. So it's a volume thing. When the sinkholes, when the groundwater comes up and inundates the karst area, water doesn't flow out.
Right.
So it becomes a volume thing.
Right, so somebody suggested earlier that, I think he said last year was the worst amount of rain on record. Do you-
Inches wise.
Yeah, so do you know that to be true or not?
It is the wettest year on record.
Okay, so what was the flooding situation last year?
The wettest
We
year
had
on
the
record has no, like I talked about before, has no bearing on rain events that, as far as hydrology is concerned. We could have 24 inches this entire year. We had 70 inches last year. We
Right.
could have 24 inches this year.
So we've had nothing close to that period that we had the flooding in 97. We had nothing close to that in the last 22 years.
Was 97 a 100-year flood? Or
I didn't add, but I don't even think 84. Is 84 on your list, Walt?
It's like number 8.
Yeah, I mean,
It's the 8th worst. It depends, what he's saying is it depends on the intensity and how long
Right.
it goes.
How quickly.
If it's in 24 hours and you get 24 inches, that's difficult
to manage
for
it,
anybody to
yeah.
deal with.
Yeah. So
But that could,
It
may
takes-
not happen in 500 years.
it takes named rain events. We had no named rain events last year, which what I mean is we didn't have no 2-year storm, 5-year storm, or 10-year storm. We
Right.
had none of those. We had a lot of 1.2 inches today, 1.4 inches.
so nothing like 97 since 97.
No.
And-
Oh, wait.
Last year was 84, we had 12 inches in 12 hours.
Right, so nothing like 97 since 97. Yes or no?
Well, '08, we had flooding in Timberwood. And
Like 97?
Not 97, because '08 was a 5-year storm. It was 4.35 inches.
Okay, so nothing like 97 since 97, and nothing like 84 until 97.
I think Walt said 84 was worse than 97.
Right, but nothing like 84 until 97. Okay. Okay.
But bear in mind, those are big rain events, and per the calculations, it don't take a 100-year event to flood that area. A 50-year storm in this area will do $3.1 million worth of damage. A 25-year storm will do $2.3 million worth of damage. That's what the calculations say.
Right.
And per the public meeting, the depth of the waters per these rain events, by the hydrology model, coincide exactly with what occurred in 97 and '08 and every rain event that we have elevations on. So we're pretty comfortable with the elevating. I mean, it's a pure volume thing. It's easy to calculate, probably the easiest engineering calculation you can make, because it's a pure volume thing. And I know people are passionate about the properties. I'm passionate about, just like I was passionate with this project of getting it done. As far as Happy Valley, I mean, we need to stop the flooding on this. I mean, they're going to flood again. I mean, I know it's not, in, Bramlett and Kingswood, and it's not a fancy, it's not, a glamorous area, but they don't need to flood no more than anybody else.
So that model or that design, are there any alternatives other than that wooded area that we're currently talking about?
Oh, Ryan Court. I mean, that's what was put in by our engineer as the alternative. The alternative would be, the best alternative would be to overdig the basin that Walt was talking about, across the road in the fenced-in area that we currently own. And obviously, that would be the desired method, because that requires no additional We own the property.
But can we do that once we get the funding? Because the funding, we're getting it based on just one design that you have, right? So once we get the funding, are we gonna be able to change that legally?
Oh yeah, well, the funding on this Happy Valley,
No.
but the funding on the Happy Valley project included $600,000 for construction of a basin on Eddie Cato's property across the road from Walmart. Once the project was approved, we done a change of scope and moved that money down to what we call the alternate basin. It's a simple, easy, I mean, it's not simple. I won't say it's simple. It's a 9-month process because paperwork going to Atlanta none of it's fast. Just like applying for a grant. I mean, you all seen what I was carrying the last time was the grant application. It's that thick. I mean, there's hours and hours and hours.
I think
It's 80 meg of information, or 80,000 kilobyte, whatever that is. I think it's 80 meg. But
Toby, let me ask you, hold on, Mike, let me ask you a question. On the Quiggins Basin, best I remember, everything was voluntary that we did take.
Mhm.
In this case, we have residents that don't want this put on their property. The voluntary, the condemning of the 2 homes by the basin we're talking about on Timberwood would have to be voluntary.
that'd be voluntary.
Do they even know about it?
At this point, just like the people on Liberty, when we bought them, till we get grant approval, we don't talk to anybody because
But
we
we
don't
have
have money
grant
yet.
approval.
Huh?
I'm out.
Well, I mean,
Let me just say,
until
I'm
the
out.
application goes in, until the commitment letter, they've already assigned a grant manager and put a reimbursement date of April 12, 2018. But about as far as the houses, they can't be condemned.
Well, no, I'm not going that direction, but what I guess I'm going towards, with this being mostly voluntary, I mean, everything here was voluntary. We didn't have any issue in this
No
grant
issue.
side. We have residents that did come before the council today and just says, absolutely not, we're not looking for that. Can we already plan to redesign that around what they're saying no? Because I don't feel the council,
Well, absolutely.
In
That's
the
what
future-
Whoa.
That's what we're
No,
saying.
yeah, no.
I
know.
believe when you were talking to one of the people, you said you couldn't change it. You could maybe
we
skirt
can't.
around a little
I
bit.
said the
You're
same
still
thing.
gonna take that property no matter what.
I said
That's
that-
what was told to the citizen that pays taxes. You're trying to satisfy your job and justify your job for your employment. You can't
No.
take these people's property. They don't want it. We've all gone around. There's no flooding issues. It could rain. The ark could come again.
I'll
You're just-
restate what I said earlier. We cannot change this plan that's been submitted to FEMA. I mean, with this grant process, the 2.4 million has already been based off this preliminary design.
Okay.
But it don't get, no property, and I stated that at least 4 times out in the field, no property, when I was talking to Ms. Gudenkauf, no property can be taken without this council voting on it. We can't buy property. and
So
that's what we
Toby,
did on
Toby,
Happy
so
Valley.
hold on. So let me get this right. That plan cannot be changed.
That, and not without starting a new grant process with FEMA.
Right.
It's the
So
same way.
hold on, let me finish my
Go ahead.
question. So the grant cannot be changed unless we go back and
Reapply.
do grant modifications with FEMA.
After award.
After award,
Yes.
I get that, okay. So the grant is, and FEMA could deny the modifications, and now we're stuck to that plan, right?
You won't be stuck, I mean, they can't force you to build something that.
Well, they can't force us to do it,
Yeah.
but then the project gets stalled because we can't deviate, we have to pay for it, because we
Well,
can't deviate from the plan.
One aspect wouldn't be. If they didn't, the Cato Basin, just put it in hypothetical, if I can, like on the Cato Basin, the 600, the reason we didn't build the Cato Basin is it's straight across the road from Walmart. And see, Walmart was built prior to the grant being awarded. So through KYEM, they said, well, let's got to go through the process, and once they physically award it with the big check, which is that's signing the agreement, then we'll do a change of scope, and that's what we did.
I understand all that, but we're locked into that plan. And that plan does include the concerns that these citizens have.
The way to
tonight.
change it, I think, I'm gonna try to answer, the way to answer your question
Does
is,
that plan include the concerns of the citizens here tonight?
it includes Ryan Court.
That the yes or no,
So
he's
it
asking a
includes
yes or no
the woods that they're
question.
concerned about,
It
and
includes
includes
Ryan
that.
Court.
Okay. So, and we're locked into that plan. We signed this letter of intent, commitment. We're locked into that plan. And if it comes down to none of these citizens wants to turn over any rights, any properties, we have to go back to FEMA and ask for a post-award modification.
Post-award, yeah, change the
Yes,
scope.
right. I'm very familiar with grants. Okay, so we had to do a post-award modification. They could accept that and say, sure, you can go around the woods and do something else. Or they can say, no, we're not gonna allow you the modifications. If they don't allow us the modifications, then what?
It'd be very unlikely they don't, I mean, we wouldn't, once, in your scenario, you wouldn't build it. We wouldn't ask them for a change of scope modification, as you're saying, without an alternative. Obviously, we're gonna have an alternative. Either we're gonna.
We don't have an alternative now, right?
No, not by, we got one project which is here now.
Right.
If we do a change of scope, we'll give them an alternative, which could be digging the one basin deeper, could be making Timberwood bigger, deeper. Those would be the alternatives. Those would be expressed to them,
And they could deny it.
it's very unlikely, they're
We're
not.
talking about all scenarios.
Yeah,
I'll let you give your projections of this impeding storm that's gonna come. So now, okay, they could deny it.
They could deny it.
And if they deny it, then what are our alternatives?
We just don't receive the, whatever monetary amount is in Ryan Court. We don't build it, it don't get built, and we don't receive that. They'll still fund the rest of the project. I mean, that's how it would, in their eyes, there's different segments. Like in
So-
Happy Valley, you
right.
got Quiggins, Turner, Wilson, alternate.
Okay, so that's one option. We could just not build it. Okay, are there any other scenarios? Perhaps you have to yield to Mike Pike, but are there any options that could involve taking folks' property by force or working around some legal way of getting done what they don't want done?
FEMA won't allow involuntary condemnation, correct?
Yeah, they would allow condemnation, but not on the homes, not on the houses. that we're
Eminent
buying.
domain.
Yeah, so we're talking about that wooded area.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it doesn't matter what FEMA allows, because any property acquisition comes before the council, and the council makes the decision.
I totally agree, and my point is, I'm making a decision today.
Exactly.
And I might not be here when that decision has to be made. So I've started something that I may not be around to complete. So now I got folks who have lost their land, and I started the process because another council came along and approved, take it. So I'm just trying to understand all the scenarios.
That's the scenario.
Right, because I can't just say, well, I might not be here in 4 years when they voted in, right? And so, not my fault, right? So I'm concerned with not just what we approved today, but all the scenarios around, post-award modifications. Yes, they approve it, then we do some other things. They don't approve it, now we got these options. Or there is a scenario where we can do some things that are against the wishes of the folks here today.
So, what you're saying is true.
Okay, that's all I wanted to know.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
there's nothing.
That's all I wanted to know. Thank you.
Y'all done with Toby? I'm sorry, I can't. We're in a motion in a second. I can't. I apologize.
So we're basically making a decision that's going to affect, now, these people are aware with the woods, but we're making a decision that's going to affect people's homes, and they're totally unaware of it. I can't do that. I'm just saying. Y'all can table it if you want. I'm a no.
Well, right now, we have a motion on the table.
I know, I'm
for a
just
table.
saying, there's no way I can in good conscience vote on that. Because I know for past record how things have transpired and how things work. I know personally in my own yard how things work. There's no way.
Toby, I think we're done.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you.
So right now, the motion is a motion made by Councilman Palmer to table it seconded by Councilman Thompson. So if we go to a vote now, the vote no would be you're voting no against the table.
Right.
The vote yes is a vote for tabling the motion, which is the commitment letter.
Oh, they could
I got a
withdraw the
question.
motion.
Real quick, tabling it, and you're just gonna lose the money, right? Because we don't have.
Unless
another
you do
meeting
something in the
until-
next 9 days.
I don't think that's gonna happen. It's gonna be really tough to vote to get the money, but then knowing that that's something against their wishes, on their property could happen in the future. It really is tough.
Mr. Pike, correct me if I'm wrong, just step through the scenario, so I don't want it to seem as if either myself or us as a body just kind of jumped on this and said, let's do this tomorrow. This process started over a year ago. There was public hearings, there were several steps that was taking. Can you hear? Is she okay? Can she hear? Okay. I know, I'm sorry, and I wasn't here, so I apologize. But over that year, there were steps that were taking. And so, the time that we got here, whatever, and I apologize, but for whatever happened up to this step, it seemed that, because you all, as a body prior, gave approval to move forward with this process and voted for the plan, is that, do you remember that, Mr. Pike?
Yeah, yes, sir, yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
So,
Get another grant?
so,
Use this one?
you can't, I'm sorry, Linda, you can't talk out of turn right now, I apologize. But to do that, that's why we're here today, because that letter came due. And so, I just don't want any confusion with anybody out here that thinks that happened that way. But there is a motion on the floor, there is a motion to table it. And at this time, unless you all have any further discussion, I'll let these two finish.
I just wanted to, because I'm sitting here as a city attorney, and as a property owner, as a citizen, I can totally relate to the folks that have spoken tonight. I wouldn't want my property taken. I wouldn't even want the discussion to occur, not without meaningful input, if the city is actually going to do that. I'm concerned as city attorney because on one hand, I totally sympathize with the citizens. But on the other hand, I see us in a moment of emotional charging, possibly kicking away a multi-million-dollar grant. And I understand the concerns and I understand the lack of notice and that sort of thing, but it sounds to me like the debate was going as an either-or proposition. We're either voting to take these people's land or we're voting to lose the grant, that there's no middle ground. And I heard that being presented. I don't know if that was intentional, but that seemed to me the way the debate was going. On one hand, we're going to go against these people, we're going to take their land, we're going to take their woods, we're going to diminish their property value, we're going to disrespect them and what they want. That's Proposition A, or Proposition B is we vote no and kill the grant. And I think there's another alternative. Certainly it involves risk, and the flip side of that is trust. But I just wanted the council to be aware that those are the choices. I don't think it's A or B. I think there's a C. Now, you may not like C. You may not trust C.
Well, why don't we just table it, call them a meeting next week so we have a chance to talk amongst ourselves and
That's
talk.
I can
And
do
that
that.
way, because the way, we're just learning this basically yesterday. You know, when we presented, it's talked about two pieces of property, houses.
And they
I was under
sounded like
assumption
they were
had-
in agreement.
Yeah, and I was under assumption they'd been talked to. So now we're learning that there's other property owners involved and they didn't have time. I would like to talk to Toby and other council members, find out what the other options are, and come back next week after we have more information and find out if there's a good alternative for everybody. I mean, I think we would all agree, you know, we don't want 95 houses to flood.
Right.
But we don't want to go taking people's property either.
And I remember when we had this conversation, to add to your point, is I requested multiple public forums. So, and
that would have
that
helped.
didn't occur,
Right.
right? So now here we are in the 9th hour, saying we got to do something now, and that seems to to be the MO from the previous administration, that rush, 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 rush. And
that's
but-
why
and
we're
I
at this
remember-
point we are
I
now.
remember saying, let's slow this process down, let's have multiple public debates, because I get it, sometimes you have a public debate and folks can't make it out. So I wanted several public debates, and I remember being very adamant about saying, we need to have multiple public debates so that folks have an opportunity to know what's about to happen. Now, here we are in the 9th hour, and folks are telling me, nobody ever knocked on my door. And so now I'm being put in the position, as Mike just eloquently said, either or, and I was saying a year ago, let's do research, let's have a long conversation, let's get folks in and get about their feelings. And now, these folks obviously have been overlooked in that process. We didn't have but one form, and so now I'm being asked to rush to make a decision. And I feel bad either way, but I did put that caution out there a year ago and asked for multiple meetings.
I think we've all been clear. I think we're pretty much all in consensus. We're not wanting to take your property.
No.
We're not going to, I don't think any of us are going to vote to take your property. Right. Now, yeah, well,
He doesn't make any decision.
now, I mean, I would hope that, we could come up with a design that doesn't affect y'all, that we can control the flooding for the people down in the bottom.
We're way out of order.
Yeah.
We
Right.
don't need to
Hey,
do this.
hold on.
I can't
I
discuss
can't,
this
yeah,
yet.
you're
Sorry.
having, I can't, sorry, yeah, you're having,
But,
it's okay.
I mean, I just think, if we can maybe come back next week and talk amongst each other and see if we can come up with a better idea. But I'm telling you now, and I think everybody's gonna agree, we're not gonna take your property.
Yeah, let me just say, from my perspective, coming in, there is concern that Miss Anna Marie is sitting there very eloquently, and she is trying to say one thing, and I know what you're trying to say, but I know, but I can't. If I do, I have to open it up to everybody, and I can't. But I have concern that there are citizens, and part of me, why I'm sitting up here thinking, I don't know if the rest of y'all felt this way, maybe we didn't view those woods, or when you all looked at this, maybe the engineer didn't view those woods as such a big area. Maybe they say, oh, it's just woods. We're not taking anything but woods. Not knowing the passion behind that. And so, ultimately, I know it seems like there's, as Councilman Palmer said, much need for more discussion, more talk, more conversation, and a better understanding of the project in general. And I think he's correct when he says he asked for those. My hope in consulting with the city attorney was to hold this up, not sign that letter until I understood, to make sure, hey, we're committing $320,000, let's make sure you guys are good with this, because I at least got to be here for 4 years. They got to be here for 2. Some of them may be here for 4 with me, I don't know. After this vote, I don't know. So we'll see. But ultimately, I think the council's in the same consensus. Now, keeping in mind, before we go into a vote, we got to make sure our schedules work. If that's the direction y'all want to go, to have an additional meeting. Those meetings may be during the day, so we can, I don't think, we'll just have to figure it out how we're going to make those meetings.
It's gonna be difficult for me to go, and have to be after work.
No, I would try to make it work if we have to do it.
Yeah,
You know-
I mean,
you know
you
our
gotta
crazy
take
schedules,
off. I know
but-
it is.
But here's the point. If what Toby said is true, that design cannot be changed.
Right.
Because it's been approved, then I think we're gonna have another conversation just like this. Because we're still locking into that design.
Right.
And then all of these other scenarios post-award that requires modification and approval or not. So the scenario's not gonna change tomorrow, it's not gonna change next week. So I'm happy to figure out a good day we can all be here, but
Let me
if
lean on.
Toby is true, that the design cannot be changed, then when you sign that commitment letter, we're committing to that design, and on hopes that we may be able to get a post-award modification.
Mike, is there anything that that legally future binding, to Councilman's point, that you can bind a council?
No,
Okay.
you can't bind a future administration, you can't bind a future council in a scenario like this.
Okay.
So if a future council or future administration wanted to proceed with eminent domain under law, they could do that.
Okay.
It may end up in court and, you know, an award by the court and that sort of thing, but any promises made today cannot legally be binding on a future government.
Now, having said that, I understood that before I said it. I'm not saying that they're bound. What I'm saying is I started the ball rolling, and now they either got to stop it or get the hell out of the way.
Yeah.
And so my whole point is that future council could choose the eminent domain route, and they wouldn't have that route to choose had I not started it today. So that's my point. My point is I know they're not bound to follow up on my decision, or to even look at the records and think about how I felt. But once I start the ball rolling down the hill, I could be somewhere 2 years, 3 years, 5 years now doing something totally different. And that future council may choose to just get out of the way and let the ball roll. But I started it, right? So that's the point. I know I don't bind that council.
So I didn't know if we could.
But I don't have any guarantees that that council is gonna feel what I feel and protect these people's property.
Yeah.
So that's the point, is I'm starting the ball rolling based on how we vote today.
Yeah.
So I get what Mike Pike is saying, I totally understood that. But I don't know what that future council may do.
See, I didn't know. I was wondering if we even could do that. So.
Yeah,
No,
you
I knew
can't,
we
you
couldn't. He
can't.
said that numerous times, that no decision we make bounds future council. So I know then the decision to either step away from the project and leave these people's property intact, or to take their property and do what is in the design, may not fall on my shoulders.
Yeah.
But that decision wouldn't have to be made if I don't start the ball rolling. So I realize the gravity of my own
Okay.
decision.
The other alternative that I see is if we apply for another grant on a smaller scope and maybe have more input on the designers or the engineers that say, you know, we need to stay away from this, we want to try and stay within the footprint that we currently have. Is that even a possibility? Because it's much better if we do it on our own property and stay in our footprint instead of you leaving ours the same and then taking everybody else's.
I'm interested in that.
So I think that's the only way, because if we vote for this letter of intent that was presented to us is, oh, it's just a letter of intent, it's no big deal. Well, we can see it's a huge deal.
I didn't.
It's a really good.
I didn't say you said it.
Don't say I said that.
So that's the only option I see is to just submit another grant.
I'll go with the submit another grant.
Well, we do need to vote on the motion.
Well, I think
there's a
tabling it effectively kills it, and we're not gonna, if we don't meet next week, it's done. I mean, unfortunately, we've learned a lesson here. I mean.
We did.
I think, none of us really wants to turn down grants.
No.
But we can't learn the day before we come to a meeting about possibilities that,
Right.
and, you know, maybe shame on all of us for not asking the questions, I don't know, but, I'm glad it was brought to our attention, and I feel bad for the 95 people that's still in the flood zone, but I think we're gonna have to.
I mean, and that's the flip
back
side
up
of,
and-
But
that's the
that's-
flip side of the decision to table it is that, I don't know what Toby said, 50-year, 5-year, 100-year
100
event.
year.
Could
It might
happen-
hit tomorrow.
It could happen next week. So
Yeah,
then,
and
so
then-
then,
yeah,
we've
we're
got
back-
all these families that we
But the thing is, the
concerned about.
project wouldn't be done next week anyway.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, exactly. So, but my whole point is that, you know, we should have been, listening to the citizens long before the 9th hour.
Right, and I
Yes,
think, like I
yes.
said,
That's what we're at.
anytime, and I think all of us gonna, anytime a property owner is gonna be affected, it needs to be discussed with them.
And
prior to
we need to
anything.
know.
Yeah.
That all should have been part of the design and an alternate put in the design.
Right.
I mean, you know, but like I said, it's a lesson learned by all of us. It's a bad idea to, I mean, it's not a bad idea. I hate turning down the grant, but
We have to do what we have to do.
I
You
can't.
can't.
I can't. You can't. You know.
So-
Sorry.
I say we got a motion, a
Are we
second,
just
we can
gonna
vote on the
table?
table and just let it.
Will it die?
You need to vote on the motion.
Yeah, you got to vote on the motion.
What's the motion?
So you have,
To
so you
table
have,
it.
you have a motion, Councilman Palmer, seconded by Councilman Thompson to table the motion. or table the commitment letter.
It's technically a motion to postpone, but
Yeah.
we call it table, but that's fine.
And a vote yes is a vote for the motion to table. A vote no is a motion against it.
Which then means we don't vote yea or nay on the letter tonight. That's what that
Right, if we
means.
table it, sure.
Correct.
Or postpone it, whatever word you want.
Yes, ma'am.
So with that being said, if there's no further discussion, I'll let y'all have, anybody else before we close? Important issue? All right, we'll have a roll call vote, please.
Edward Palmer,
Yes.
Kim Thompson.
Yes.
Barbara Baker,
Yes.
Pam DeRoche,
Yes.
Tanya Seabrooks,
Yes.
Chris Yates.
Yes.
All right, motion is tabled. Do you guys, so with that, do you guys want to have a meeting?
No.
All right, I'm just asking, just have to ask. Gotta go on record. All right, now with that being said, we have mayor council comments. I think Barbara, you started the last one, so I'll start with Chris.
Good luck North Hardin Trojan baseball. They're playing the districts tonight.
Yay.
Or, no, they've already played today. They'll play tomorrow. The winner, I'm not sure who they'll play tomorrow. They won today. Last I heard it was 15-0, so good luck to them. That's all I have.
They won 15-0?
It was ahead 15-0 late in the game. So,
It must have been the 1 seed and the 30 seed.
yeah, North Hardin is the number 1 seed. They went undefeated
Oh, good, another undefeated team.
in district. Let me.
It's all good.
Yeah. They're like 25-4, which is the best record they've had in many, many years.
All right, Councilman Thompson, sir.
I agree with Councilman Yates for the basketball team, but also the holiday coming up this weekend. Everybody, please enjoy the holiday.
Oh, one more thing. Limb pickup. Are you going to talk about that, Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'll leave it for him.
See, when you go first, you could always think of more to
Is my turn?
Councilwoman Seabrooks?
Thank you for all who came out tonight to speak up on your behalf. Again, my sincere apologies as well for any hardship that has caused you, but we all do share in your grief with that. We will do better going forward, and just wanted to let you know that. Thanks to all who went out to vote today, and congrats to all 2019 graduates. Please make sure everybody has a safe holiday weekend. And mark your calendars, June 4th at ECTC. The Workforce Development will have their annual Job Force Summit. All are invited to attend from 1 to 4 p.m. For more information, please contact E-Town Community College. On June 6th here in Radcliffe, we will be hosting a teen job fair for children, for teens ages 16 through 21 actually. Starts at 1 p.m., ending at 4 p.m. at the Coven Community Center. We have several jobs that are open and already able to hire. They will be interviewing on site. They will walk away with a job. These jobs are actually local, so it'll be something easy for some of the children to get to. For more information, you can contact myself or City Hall. And that's all I have.
On June 17th, 2014, Dylan Roof walked into a church in Charleston, killed 9 worshipers as they worshiped. Since then, we have done an Overcoming Hate with Love community event at our church, and we have recognized the individuals who have contributed to our peace and made contributions to family and children in the area of child welfare, education, and juvenile justice and criminal justice. Judge Shumate, Judge Hall were our first recipients. We've recognized Senator Whitney Westerfield out of Western Kentucky, who authored our nationally renowned juvenile justice reform. And this year we'll recognize someone as well. June 17th is the 5th anniversary of this tragic event. I am not the guy that I want to be a part of any rebellion or protest when something bad happens in our community, because for 5 years now, I've taken the initiative to try to bring our community together to overcome hate with love. So we don't need an event to get together and celebrate the peace we've enjoyed here in Radcliffe
here in Hardin County. So on June 17th this year, we will be celebrating again Overcoming Hate with Love. I would love to see you, your friends, your family there. We'll sing songs, we'll celebrate, we'll light candles for those who have lost their lives in some of the tragedies since then, as well as for those 9 victims on that tragic Wednesday night Bible study 5 years ago. June 17th, 6 o'clock, Sign Dove Church, corner of Loxton Parkway and Sunset, and we will overcome hate with a show of love in our community. Thank you.
As Tanya mentioned, thank you to everyone who came out. Your voices are heard. We heard them tonight, so thank you for sharing your points of points and comments with us. So thank you so much for that. June the 7th, Family Fun Cafe and Ice Cream is going to be celebrating their 3rd anniversary. They would love for you to come out and join them. Tonight, we actually had the grand opening of the new location of Generations Family Dentistry. It was a beautiful facility.
Beautiful building, yes.
Beautiful facility. They have 2 doctors in there right now and looking to hire a 3rd doctor. Their chairs have massages in them, so imagine, pretty nice.
One thing you picked
Pretty
out,
nice.
the massage chairs.
On June 15th, Hardin County Tire Center is going to be celebrating their 5th anniversary, and they're inviting folks to come out and set up booths at their location, and they want you to come out and help them celebrate 5 years of being in business. So great things with our businesses going on in town, so please help us celebrate their successes.
Councilwoman DeRoche, is there a Radcliffe Small Business Alliance?
There is. Well, we just had one this past Tuesday. Radcliffe Small Business Alliance meets the 2nd Tuesday of every month at Colvin Community Center. So, 2nd Tuesday of every month, Colvin Community Center, Radcliffe Small Business Alliance. Come and join us.
Yes, ma'am.
You didn't say my name.
Councilwoman Baker.
Oh, yes, thank you, Mayor. Again, I'd like to thank all of you all for coming and letting us hear your voice. That's how we're able to get things accomplished, and by us working together with you, it takes all of us, not just the 6 of us, but it takes all the citizens for us to keep the city going in the right direction. So I'm glad that you all did. Please come to some more meetings. Maybe they won't be all as heated, but they may be boring, which is sometimes good too. But I do want to thank all of the, be thanking of all the graduates this year as they're graduating from high school and going into college, and also all the college graduates that are going from college to the real world. So we want to be thinking of all of them. Be very careful on Memorial Day. It's always a good weekend, but you know, tragedy can strike at any time. With that being said, this Friday, May 24th, besides being my son's 25th birthday, the Red Cross is going to be at Colvin Community Center for a blood drive. That is at 230 Freedom's Way, and it's from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. So if you can, before you celebrate your Memorial Day weekend, donate some blood to help somebody else that may wind up being in need. The other thing I have is the Colvin City Pool is opening Saturday, May 25th, the next day at 11 a.m. And ages 5 to 65 is $3.25 admission. Younger than 5 is free, and over 65 is free. So we also have individual season passes for the entire summer for $53, and a family season pass is $106. So if you have you and your child, you might as well just get the family pass, and then anybody else can come in with that. We have Zumba, which is Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, starting June the 10th at 6:30 to 7:30, so that's just an hour, and that's $5 a class. The pool also has pool rentals for private parties on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday nights. So if you're interested in that, let them know. And our swim lessons that we have every year, the first 2 sessions are full already. So July 1st through the 11th and July 15th through the 25th would be those times, and that's Monday through Thursday. And they have a morning session and an afternoon session, and those are $50 per session. That's all I got.
Could you start all over?
Okay,
No.
well, I'd like to.
So I had a whole presentation ready for you guys. I had like a PowerPoint. Y'all probably saw me kept doing this, so I assure you, in my budget, we're gonna get a whole new IT guy to fix this whole new, no, I'm just cheating, Tim. Tim, you can fix this for me by next meeting, right? All right, we'll get all this working. I'm gonna try to remember what I had on my PowerPoint, but I wanna thank Councilwoman Baker. I had some nice pictures of you for doing the flowers around City Hall and then doing the flowers around the signs.
We
She
still have
was-
more of those to plant.
She couldn't move for 2 days, so thank you for going out and helping with that. I had some pictures of some demo properties that we had cleaned up. I'll show those next month. And then ultimately limbs pickup. I know trust me, I see it. I know it's bad. Our truck had broke down. I can't sink any more money into a truck that's been over 20. I think we've got about 24,000 in a truck that's worth about 10. I can't do it anymore. So we are currently looking for a truck. We have a contract bid out. Those watching at home, we have most of us have all shared that. The council members have. It is on our Facebook page. It is on our city website, and it's also going to be in the Sentinel. If you're interested, or if you know somebody's interested, as long as they meet the requirements, they have the insurance, they have the personnel and the equipment to do it. It's going to be a one-time pickup through the city to try to help us. Our crews are out. You guys probably see them. Please don't yell at them when they go by. If the piles are too big, they literally can't hand toss those. They're trying to get as many small piles as they can. Just don't yell at them. They're doing the best they can. And so we're working through that, and we're trying to get that done. I'm trying to think of anything else real quick. Council on June 5th, are you guys still good for the 9 o'clock budget meeting?
I am.
Yeah, okay. Mr. Palmer? No, we were.
No, it was Barbara.
I'm not sure yet. I thought
I'm not sure
that
yet either.
dentist appointment was this week, but it's next week.
I'm still good.
I mean, I will try to get it not on that day, but you never know when they're scheduling wisdom teeth.
Okay. So
I've got
those,
one question.
yes, sir.
We kind of dropped this, but I just want to ask the attorney one question. Is there any way that we can make a motion to approve the grant, but if an alternative can't be found before this body leaves office, so we're binding us to drop the deal?
Say that again now?
So is there any way that we could approve for the grant, but with the stipulation that if an alternative can't be found before this body leaves office, the deal's off? So we're not binding any future council members.
That's a good thought.
Well,
Could you-
I think what that ends up being is you approve the letter as is, but then basically the council adopts a resolution for
This body's
this
here for a year, because you got a new body coming in.
that says
Yeah.
for the rest of your terms through the end of next calendar year, that the council will do such and such or won't do such and such. So
Right.
yeah, you can do something like that.
But if it's delayed,
Well, I mean, it dies. We're going to kill it.
Well,
How do we kill it?
well,
If it's already approved.
and that, now,
Well, I'm
Mr.
just-
Palmer has just said that may violate one of the FEMA requirements, which,
I was just,
I know,
just throwing that out there.
Basically, we're saying to them, we have no intent of doing what we set out to do. Because we're telling them this is what we're gonna do.
Yeah.
But we're saying
but we're not really
that
going to do
we're not
it.
really gonna do it.
so
Maybe,
can
I
you
mean-
do it? Yes, but is it wise? Maybe not.
Maybe if you come up something along that line between now and before May 30th, if not, we leave it the way it is. But
That was a good thought, though.
It was a good thought.
it wasn't my thought. I just got a message, so I've got to.
Well, thank you for.
But I read it and I thought, hey, it's a pretty good idea.
Well, I'm not.
Thanks, Steve Barno.
I've had some dealings with federal grants. So at one point, I managed about $500,000 worth of federal grants in that little church right next to the door from here. And you have to state your intentions going into a grant, and then modifications occur as a result of something changes. So if we have something on record already giving us that out, then I just feel like we could be accused of going into a grant under false pretenses.
In bad faith.
Right.
So, and I'm
I
certainly
can see
not
that
a-
too. I was just, hey, I read it and I thought, hey.
I'm not a FEMA grant expert and
Yeah.
trying to do that off the cuff, I'm speculating, but it seems to me that, like Mr. Palmer said, and as Toby said, modifications would have to be made post-grant award, and then the city council can vote on whatever needs to be done going forward, but.
But the grant's already been awarded, right?
Well, I understand, but it's like he said, it's awarded, but then you can have a change of scope for the plan.
And your resolution is to change the scope already. So we've already modified the grant in the event. So you see what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
we're saying, yes, approve this program. But if things don't go the way we want to, we've already said we're not gonna do this.
Right.
Yeah.
Which, is there a way to word that so that FEMA would be okay with that? I don't know that we can get a word from them in 9 days.
Yeah.
Especially with a holiday, I would say that's
Right.
probably impossible.
Well,
Which,
it's worth a shot, but if it can't happen,
well,
it is what it is.
With the benefit of hindsight, the unfortunate thing is that the folks creating the plan, ideally you want input from all interested parties.
Right.
That's what you want. And it I don't know all the ins and outs how that happened last time, but obviously, when you have folks showing up at meetings and upset, and rightfully so, it puts everybody in a really tough spot, so.
I didn't want to open up a whole big thing again. I just thought if it was something we can do, but if it's not, it is the way it is.
I don't know that it gets you anything, and like Mr. Palmer said, you can't walk into a grant with, your hand, with your fingers crossed behind your back. You can't do that.
Can they do something like maybe send something forward and say, we don't want to cancel the grant, but we want to modify it now before they award the money?
I think Toby said that can't be done. Not right, not at this stage, it can't be done.
But it's not a modification. Once the grant period closed, then they approve the grants. Modifications occur post-grant award. They don't happen in the process.
And I think you all approved the plan, or approved the money to go do the plan, and then the plan that they did came back, and,
Well, it started to do the study. Yeah, it started to do the study, so why wouldn't we do a study? So we put money in for the study. Then it was presented, well, we did the study, let's go ahead and apply for the grant. We probably won't get the grant, we may not get the grant. So then we applied for the grant. Now, we've got the study and the grant, so now it's either you decide, yes, you want to go forward, or no, you don't, is how we got to this point.
Chris, you good?
I'm good.
All right. They, one last thing, I want to thank our road crews and our public works guys. I don't know if you noticed, but we're really trying to clean our city up. Our corridor right now, they're mowing. I don't know if you guys see that. They're mowing constantly, so I just want to give them a thank you for their hard work. And we've got some problem areas. We know we do. We've got some grasses that's taller than these tables. Our code enforcement guy, our fire chief, they're working on those. It's not as easy as you all think. We just go cut grass. Just like we can't go on your property, we got to notify property owners. We've got to go through those necessary steps. And sometimes it's 15, 20 days before we can even get that letter out. So I know it's time to go. It's 8:30. So if nobody else has anything, I'd entertain a motion.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Motion second. I was getting ready to hit that. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you all.